Hello and welcome to another video from Between the Ropes TV. Guys, I'm just going to go straight into this fight card that we're going to be previewing. I'm going to be previewing the Wasserman card, headlined by Lyndon Arhtur, which is going to be taking place in Bolton, in the northwest of England on Saturday night. It's going to be live on Channel 5. It's going to be Lyndon Arhtur against Walter Shakira. It's a light heavyweight bout. Lyndon Arthur's making a comeback under a different promoter. You guys will have realised that he's left Frank Warren. And he's on the comeback trail after that defeat to Anthony Yarde in the rematch. It's a really interesting division, the light heavyweight division, particularly in the UK. There's a lot of talent there. Anthony Yarde's mentioned, Boatsy, Craig Richards, Callum Johnson still in the mix, Callum Smith, Dan Aziz. There's a lot of good kids in there. You've got the likes of Jose Burton, who's just moved up to cruiserweight, so he's out of there. But there's a lot of good kids at light heavyweight. They'll make for some great domestic scraps. Lyndon Arthur, for me, is at the age where he wants to be making a statement. He's 31 years old. He's been very active, so we can't play the inactivity card. But he boxed really well the first time round against Anthony Yarde. He figured out the puzzle. He dealt with his power very well. He was excellent. He just used the jab. Everything came off the jab. He was excellent that night. The rematch, not so good. I'm going to be honest and call it a poor performance for Lyndon Arthur. He could do so much better. I thought he was hung out to dry by Frank Warren. I really do. And I think he's got a point to prove. He says he's always had the passion for the sport and he never lost it. And he trains hard. I think Lyndon will see himself being ignored and left out of that equation that I talked about when I mentioned those top fighters in the UK at light heavyweight. Lyndon Arthur isn't even mentioned in people's top three. I think Lyndon will feel aggrieved by that. So he'll be wanting to make a statement in this fight against Walter Shakira. I think Lyndon will want to be more active in the future in terms of, I think this has probably been one of his biggest gaps that he's had in between fights. But I can't see him having to overcome ring rust because of how sharp he is, how often he sports, how hard he trains. And like I said, he has been very active throughout his career. You can go and have a look at that yourself. But Lyndon will make a statement in this fight, believe me. I see Lyndon stopping this guy. Lyndon's got very underrated power. He's got a very good boxing brain. He sets everything up well from the jab. He's been well schooled by Pat Barrett. So I think once Lyndon feels him out and figures him out, he'll stop his opponent probably mid to late rounds. I also want to talk about another fight on the card. I also want to talk about a domestic scrap on there between Gavin Gwynn and he's fighting Craig Woodworth. I want to talk about that fight because it's for the British lightweight belt and it's also for the Commonwealth lightweight belt. It's probably going to fly under the radar, but I think it could be fight of the night. I think we're talking about 2 tall, 6 foot odd lightweights. When you look at Gavin Gwynn, I think he's really underrated on the domestic scene. I really do. He's only been beaten by James Tennyson, who he got stopped by, and Joe Cordina. And we all know what a talent Joe Cordina is. He's on a run of 3 wins. He's beaten some good kids. He's beaten the likes of O'Keefe. He's beaten the likes of Luke Willis, who we all know beat Ryan Charlton. So he's on a good run of form in Craig Woodworth. He's been with everybody. Luke Campbell, Martin J. Ward. He's also been in the likes with Jordan Ellison. And he recently beat Ronnie Clark, who beat Zelfa Barrett. So I think this fight's going to be a really interesting fight. I'm going to go for Gavin Gwynn to win on points. I think he'll win a points decision. I can see him really pushing on after this, having a defence of that and going in for a European title. So that's a fight to look out for. The final fight I want to talk about on this card is Troy Williamson, the return of Troy Williamson against David Benitez. Benitez is an Argentine. He's predominantly fought at middleweight. His last bout was against the highly rated Aaron McKenna, brother of Stephen McKenna. Those guys are with Mick Hennessy, and Mick Hennessy's really, really banging the drum about those two kids. Obviously, Troy, we know, is a British super welterweight champion, but this is a short notice fight. Troy only got to find out he was on this card this week, so Troy ain't going to come near it. He's fighting weight. He'll probably just be around the middleweight limit. But it's not going to face Troy. Everybody will know that now that it's been announced that it's been agreed for Troy to fight Josh Kelly, which is a huge fight in the Northeast, really, really big fight in the Northeast. The idea is he gets past his opponent and that fight is done, sealed, delivered. We don't know the date, we don't know the venue, but believe you me, as soon as we'll find out that, myself and Josh and Yas will be there, and we'll do another video on that nearer the time. But I believe this is Troy's moment. Again, he's another one who's a bit like Lyndon and Arhtur, being active, and probably having his biggest periods of inactivity now. But I think he's been let down by promoters. I really do. I mean, we've had Troy on the channel. But what I like about Troy is he's not just a come-forward fighter. He's not just a boxer. He can really blend his styles. Yeah, he got put down against Mason Cartwright, but what he did show was resilience. What he did show was an attitude to change his tactics mid-fight. I love fighters that can make adjustments during a fight. That's what the game's about. It's a thinking man's sport, boxing, and that's what Troy does. Troy's tough as nails, but that's the minimum attribute that he brings into the ring. He reads his opponent really well. He kind of knows when to shift his feet to bring his punches into range. He's always strong enough to push his opponents back. And he can mix it up and have a tear up. They don't want to exchange it with Troy because he's such a big, strong, powerful, 11 stone fighter. So for me, I think it's, although, you don't want to overlook your fight, the fight with Josh Kelly is absolutely huge, not just for the Northeast, but for the careers of both fighters, and particularly for Troy at the age of 31. He really wants to push on. So I believe Troy will get rid of David Benitez. Don't get me wrong, he'd be tough, he'd be strong, he'd be durable, but I think Troy's got a point to prove as well, which basically sums up a lot of the fighters on this bill, and I'll talk about another fighter just after this. But Troy will be looking forward to that fight with Josh Kelly, and I think what Troy needs that carrot dangled in front of him. So I think he gets rid of Benitez, gets that fight with Kelly, and then if he wins that, which I'm sure he will do, because I think Kelly's style is tailor-made for Troy Williamson. I don't think Josh Kelly has the strength to keep him off. He could potentially be looking at a fight with, I don't know, somebody like a Kurbanov, who had that controversial win over Liam Smith, or Sam Egginton, because Sam Egginton's got an IBO version of a world title, or even somebody like an Erickson Lubin, who had that real severe beating to Seb Fundora. So it's all there for Troy. I believe this win opens up a few doors for Troy. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how he gets on. Also, big special shout out to Nathan Gorman. Again, Nathan Gorman, he was kind of treated a bit harshly by Frank Warren. He had that loss to Dubois and things didn't kind of come up for him. But he's on a good run of form. Potentially he wins this fight in he is the IBF international sort of heavyweight belt holder, like in a belt that give him rankings in the IBF. But I think he's probably got his eye on the Fabio Worley fight, which I think is going to be a really, really interesting fight. Let's see how good Fabio Worley is, because Nathan Gorman's no slouch. yes, he had that defeat to Daniel Dubois, but he's proved since then that he's developed and he's learned about that. So Nathan Gorman again, he'll win this fight. And he's also got a point of proof, and that's what I like about this card. Fighters with chips on the shoulders, fighters that have got a point to make out, not just to themselves, but to former promoters, to fans, to prove that they deserve to be in the mix and they deserve to have their names mentioned with the very best in their respective weight classes. So it's a card I am looking forward to, in the sense that I think we're going to see some good performances. And it's free as well. And in a time where we're being charged left, right, and centre for fights, it's nice to get something we can just tune into. My only criticism with the Channel 5 cards is you only show 2 fights maximum, particularly if the main fight has gone the full distance. It'd be nice for them to show the rest of the undercard on something like 5+1 or something like that. But guys, let me know what you think of this card, whether you'll be watching it, and where you see the next fights for the likes of Troy Williamson, Gorman, the likes of Lyndon, Arhtur. Where do you see these guys going next? Let me know your thoughts. Take care, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.